Okay, here's part 4, and this is the last in this particular series. We're talking with Dr. Jay, which I love that. I remember Dr. Julia serving.
Oh,
he was the ultimate.
How disappointing to see me.
But here we are anyway. So anyway, the good doctor. I had a question rolling through my mind, and then I want you to get to whatever you want to, and kind of close this thing out with the prophecy thing. So as you were talking, I thought, okay, you're a prophetic fellow, and but you're human. So what do you do when you miss it? Missed it by this much, or maybe you miss it big. I mean, how do you respond to that?
Well, I just want to say it this way though. I believe it or not, I haven't. So I know so they like people introduce me, say, okay. Well, they'll say to me, well, you've had to have missed it. So I don't know. I don't know when I do. I haven't known. For instance, I just had it was here that I guess I spoke over as a young man 10 years ago, and I just met his father last year at a pastor's thing here at Cannon Beach. Huh. And they were one of the pastors was asking him, well, do you know who Jay Leroux is? He goes, oh yeah. I know him. You do? He's there. No, yeah. I said, oh, no, he spoke over my son 10 years ago, and this year it's all come to pass. And so there's always these times. I've literally had it the night before, the next day it happens.
Okay.
So I don't know of anyone that has had it because there's these time elements. I know this, though. I won't say it unless I absolutely know for sure it's the truth. And so I have to live there. If I'm questioning it, then I'm not saying it.
Have you ever missed a date, though? Like you say, I see in the next 2 years, and it doesn't happen within that time frame, but it happens later. So how do you respond to that?
Yeah, and I don't know when that's happened, but yeah, that's now there's some that said to me, Jay, you shouldn't do that, but I said, listen, these are things. I think a couple of things. One is I need to know, for one, by him. Two is I think that encourages the people to be encouraged, to believe, to hope, yep. Which I think, sometimes the prophetic word becomes a seed of hope, of faith, of dream, of believing, and sometimes that person just it'll cause them to, in the next 3 years, to be looking and anticipating and it's possible that maybe, I know it's 3 years. I don't know how they responded. I'm not blaming them or me. I know that part of it, though, and so I've been a little stronger at those things because of, with carefully gritting it, because I know that would be, I miss it once at a new church. I know this because I've been in a lot of places that they don't believe in prophecy. They don't even believe I exist. And they've told me. Yeah. The pastors, I just was on 2 years ago. Nobody believes in prophecy or prophets. Okay. And I said, well, why are you having me? Right. He said, I saw you at a conference 5 years ago, and I had 6 of my people there. You spoke every one of them. Every one of them was true. It all came to pass. But the group that I'm a part of still struggle with it, and they say, well, he got lucky or something.
Lucky,
yeah,
6 out of 6.
Yeah.
So.
If I did,
how much responsibility? Okay. I'm sorry.
No, good.
How much responsibility, if any, is on the hearer, the person who receives a word?
I think it probably depends on what the word is, because now, and this will help though. There are some things I'm saying that have their responsibility in it. There's some things I'm saying that the Lord is about to do. Some things I'm saying He's doing, and some things I'm saying it's already done. And so I need to know what those are as I'm saying it. And so I usually say to somebody, listen, this is the thing the Lord desires to do. This is what He wants to do. But this is going to be a big part of your decision. I try to add that in there. Right. That's why sometimes, as Linda will say to me, they may be lengthy at times, because I think, for me anyways, I always loved when the prophet was crystal clear and not talking to me in dark language or in a parable. Okay. In pieces. Right. I really liked it when it was clear. So I think my responsibility is everything I know about it, I want to make it crystal clear to the hearer that this is what He intends to do. So there's no missing interpretation of what's being said. That's why we record it, for one reason, because you just can't hear it. And so if people say, well, Jay, but you're human. I said, yeah. I said, and maybe I have missed it. I'm not going to say it, but I'm saying I want you to know that I cannot or I would not say it if I was not certain. There's things I'm preaching now that I once read and thought, wow, this something's here. But I wouldn't speak on it because I don't know what's there.
Yeah.
But something's there. Now you know it's without, and really I learned that from Rick, though, because Rick would stand up and declare something out of the written word that was absolutely present without a doubt.
Yeah.
So his prophetic way, which really wasn't the way I'm doing this, was I learned that out of the word. You know that every time he came it was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was
gold.
Yes, it was gold.
Okay.
So is that but that's I've done give you one in particular. It's one particular gal. This is a few years ago. I knew at 6 years old something tragic had happened. I didn't know what though, but it was tragic. Mm-hmm. So for me, what I don't know, I'm not interested in. What I know is what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So he can reveal whatever he wants. That part I didn't know. So I told her, and now she was ice cold because she was so nervous like this. She was, her and her husband. I knew the husband didn't know her. And but she was hard, callous. I knew that. So I said, at 6 years old, your life changed at 6 years old. And from that day forward, because of the loss, and I went on and on, she was like this, stoic. He was like this. And nobody did anything. And so I just finished talking to her. She didn't move, didn't say anything. So I, just moved on to the next. Before that would, in my earlier years, that would bother me. It would make me question it, but I don't have to because of our relationship. So I walked away. Well, 2 days later, the youth, Jack was the one, you remember him, Postmark.
Yeah.
We were sitting in a meeting, at an elders meeting, and I happened to be there, and he said, you know I said, yeah. He goes, well, her husband called me that night. He never knew what happened. Her father was a police officer. He was gunned down in front of their house, getting out of the car, and she saw it. She was 6 years old.
Wow.
And so that day, her whole life was ruined, and she had never gotten over it. She said he went home. She just cried and cried. And see, how beautiful is that?
Wonderful.
But then I could have withdrew and thought, well, I'm not, this is, what if I miss it? What if it's not there? Yeah. So that's another testimony to me.
You can't go totally by how people are reacting when you're speaking it.
Never.
It's true for preaching too.
Yeah, right.
I mean, hello. Sometimes I'm preaching and
yeah.
And then, Pastor, that was the greatest word you've ever. Really? Okay. Well, sometimes I think people hear things that the Holy Spirit breathes into them that I didn't even say when you're preaching, and perhaps it's that way sometimes with prophecy. You're giving a word, and maybe the Lord's directly using something you say, perhaps. But maybe he's using that to dovetail into something that he wants to say, even more personal to them, that you either can't say or you don't know quite that part. And but either way, it's
so cool,
very positive.
Yeah, and the prophecy is, is really, it's kind of like it's like the breath of God breathing, but it's this, like our Bible's got this life on it. It's living, even though it looks like it's alive. And the prophetic word becomes that.
It's more than words.
Yeah, it's more than words. Yeah, but we like to blend, though, again with Rick.
Right.
I got to have that strong word and prophecy, and there's no ceiling. Let's go for it.
Awesome.